I'm a sinner. 98 days. The fates of 324 men. I dragged them all down into the same abyss. I never thought my life would be like this. In a nearly tragic manner. Collapsed completely overnight. And the one who started it all. It was actually that birthday party. My name is Aya. I'm 19 years old this year. 3 months ago, I'm still just an ordinary 19-year-old female college student. The daily range of activities is limited to the library and cafeteria. The biggest secret is having a secret crush on the computer science department. That guy with canines when he smiles. Life back then was monotonous and dull. Yet it's so safe that it makes one want to doze off. If that birthday party hadn't happened, I'll never find out. A person's life goes from being completely clean to completely ruined. It turns out that just one night is enough. That day at the bar, in a slightly tipsy, noisy atmosphere that made me. There are moments when I feel lost. He appeared.
His name is David.
Wear a clean white shirt. Standing alone by the bar. It seemed so out of place. He turned his head and smiled at me gently. Asked me about my first time here. His voice was as steady as that of a cello. Well, listen carefully to what I have to say about the school. All those boring little things. Alcohol and teenage girls' vanity make. I lost all my defenses. When he suggested going to his place nearby, when the apartment is filled with great jazz music, I somehow followed him upstairs as if possessed. What happens next? I still don't dare to do it. Nor do I want to think about it any further. I only remember that on his shirt, there's a faint scent of cologne. I remember how it felt when he kissed me, holding it gently, like a piece of porcelain. But now that I think back on it, that tenderness was actually filled with subtle. Thinking about it afterwards, it's utterly terrifyingly deliberate. At the most confusing moment, I muttered those words out of instinct. One must take proper safety measures. He paused for a moment. Then, with extremely gentle kisses, got by with some sweet nothings. Even deliberately turned away my gaze. The indulgence at that moment. It became the force that pushed me into eternal ruin. And the next day, the note on the bedside that says, "See you next time." It's more like a trap disguised as a love letter. I couldn't wait for the romantic date that was supposed to happen 2 weeks later. All I got was a nightmare that completely destroyed me. Persistent high fever. Every joint in my body hurts, as if they've been crushed. My roommate forced me to go to the big hospital. In the consulting room, the doctor held that thin lab test sheet in his hands, staring at me with a complicated expression in his eyes, silenced for a long time before speaking. Have you engaged in any unsafe boundary-crossing behaviors recently? With a loud boom, my mind went completely blank for a moment. Right after that, there was AIDS, which was like a death sentence. The positive test results kept ringing in my ears. I sat there motionless on the chair. What did the doctor say about initial control later on? Lifelong medication intervention, all turned into repulsive flies. How did I end up like this? I'm only 19 years old. I've lived a clean life my entire existence. Just had contact with one man once. It only happened once, that's all. When I came out of the hospital, night has fallen. I want to call that man. I want to grab him by the collar and ask him, why does he want to destroy me? But as I trembled through them all the social apps on the phone, just discovered with despair, I've been blocked.
He disappeared without a trace.
David might not even be named David at all. That night, I sat on a bench in the park all night. The cold wind of late autumn is bone-chilling. I cried and cried again. I can't figure it out. Really can't figure it out. What exactly have I done wrong? I'm just at the right age. Thought I had found true love. Why do you want me to use it for a lifetime? To bear this sin through destruction. Vicious hatred burns like wildfire. It instantly extinguished my reason. I hate him. I hate that demon who dragged me into hell. I even started to hate all men, since my life has already fallen into abyss. then no one's going to have an easy time. I want to drag others down with me. I'm going to make those greedy and unrestrained men pay for their actions. Try my kind of heart-wrenching despair. I began my wild counterattack. I downloaded all the social media apps I could find. Changed the profile picture to the one I've carefully edited. Photos that appear innocent yet full of temptation. The effects are immediate. Almost instantly, countless desires filled. Greeting messages pour in like a tide. Looking at those words, my stomach is feeling sour periodically. Find it absolutely disgusting. But at the same time, a twisted kind of pleasure screams wildly through the veins. The first goal is one that claims to be doing something. A married middle-aged man in the building materials business. After entering the room, I asked coldly, "Don't we need to take any protective measures?" He rushed over eagerly, smiling nonchalantly on one side. "That thing's uncomfortable to use." "Don't worry, bro. I'm in great health, no problems at all." I let out a vicious sneer in my heart. After that night ended, he tossed a stack of bills on the table and left. I rushed into the bathroom, turned the faucet on to the maximum, rubbing one's skin vigorously with shower gel until streaks of blood appeared from rubbing. I slumped helplessly on the cold bathroom floor, crying their heads off. While crying, though, I actually laughed in a sickly manner. "Look, there's another one now. Soon you'll become just like me." From that day on, I feel like I've become an addicted demon. I spend my days using different software programs. Crazy appointments. Among them are young and energetic college students, well-dressed office workers, merchants with a stench of money all over them, and they all share one fatal weakness. In the face of desire, they're all unwilling to take any safety precautions. At first, I would also write down their characteristics. Building materials owner, the guy wearing a plaid shirt. But later on, I'm completely numb. All that's left in the memo are individual items, entries, cold impersonal dates, and the symbols X1, X2. I turn them into faceless numbers, because that's the only way. Only then can I pretend to forget myself. He's also a living human being. The numbers keep increasing like a snowball effect. 10, 20, 50, 100 each. Watching that number get bigger and bigger. That thing in my heart called revenge. The monster felt brief satisfaction. But this kind of pleasure often can't even last half an hour every time it ends. I also end up vomiting violently in the bathroom. I've started suffering from severe insomnia. Just close your eyes. I dream that those men turned into evil spirits surrounding me, shouting that I'm a plague. What really caused cracks in me? He's a male college student who's about my age. He's very young. When we met, I was so nervous that my palms were sweating. Stutters when speaking. He said it was his first time arranging to meet someone online. Because I think the look in my eyes in the photos is very sincere, innocent. After that night, he sent me a very long text message. He said he likes me. "I want to have a serious relationship with you. Ask me if I can be his girlfriend." Looking at those passionate and innocent words on the screen, I suddenly experienced angina pectoris. On this boy, I cruelly saw myself as I was 3 months ago. That guy who sneaks into the computer science department's computers in the library every day. The self who thinks the whole world is pink. I destroyed my own youth. And now I've actually become a demon. Laughing cruelly as he strangles another person's youth away. It felt like an electric shock to me. Block all his contact information. Then squatted in a corner of the dormitory, crying heartbreakingly. I can't stop anymore. I'm like a car that's lost its brakes. The train speeding madly along the cliff's edge. It's painfully obvious that it's extremely painful every time. Yet the inertia of revenge drives me to keep sinking deeper. Until the 98th day, the turning point arrived suddenly. That day, I met with a middle school teacher in his 40s. While he's in the bathroom taking a shower, I casually noticed the wallet he had left on the table. Inside, there's a faded family photo. In the photo, he and his wife are smiling warmly. In the middle was a little girl who was probably 7 or 8 years old. She has 2 cute dimples when she smiles. That smile was so pure, so clean, glaring. I stared fixedly at that photo. The blood in his entire body froze in an instant. A terrifying thought, like ice-cold water. It flowed down along my spine. If I've hurt him, he went home. Passed this despair on to his wife. What should we do with this little girl? She's only 7 or 8 years old. She didn't do anything wrong. Her life has just begun. At that moment, I felt as though I'd been struck by lightning. I always thought, I'm just taking revenge on those who are greedy. A worthless person who can't control their desires. I am the judge. But I was wrong. Completely wrong. My revenge isn't judgment. It's an act devoid of reason. Disasters with no boundaries. It will spread. It will spread and affect innocent wives as well. Innocent children. Drag them all into the bottomless abyss. I'm not some kind of victim. I've become like that person who causes harm. My man is exactly like a devil. When that man came out of the bathroom, I've already put on all my clothes. I'm sorry for carrying the bag on my back. I suddenly felt unwell, so I'm leaving now. My voice is trembling. I left the room and meal fees on the table exactly as they were. Didn't get a single point. Fled in the midst of the men's astonished gazes that very night. I'm sitting under the streetlight. Sat with my eyes open until dawn. When the first rays of dawn break through the clouds, I looked at my pale fingers. Finally, I've made up my mind. I sent a text message to my mom. Mom, I'm sorry, my daughter is unfilial. Then I inserted my ID card. Clutching tightly to the phone with 324 names on it. Step by step, I made my way to the Public Security Bureau at the end of the street. I went to the police station's front desk to turn myself in. Admitted that I had concealed my illness. Crimes of intentionally harming others. The once noisy hall fell completely silent in an instant. Everyone was shocked. In the interrogation room, I felt relieved to finally confess this. All the madness and evil of these 3 months. Facing the old police officer's complicated and concerned questions. I cry in remorse. I fully understand that being hurt by someone is no excuse for harming others who are innocent. Revenge only draws more people down into hell. I feel extremely regretful. With this 19-year-old ruin of mine. A wake-up call for girls. Being away from home, out and about. Never underestimate the darkness of human nature. And never overestimate your own defenses. At the same time, I also want to say something to those who hope for the best. A slap for those who tread on the edge of desire. The so-called romantic encounters and acts of indulgence you think you've had. Perhaps it was a destruction that had been meticulously planned all along. My life is completely ruined, but thankfully. In the last second before slipping into the bottomless abyss, I used all my strength to step on the brake. From now on, this list of the damned will remain fixed at 324 people. For me, to put an end to this evil with my own hands. It's the best relief for me. I sold myself for $280,000 3 years later. I was sick and completely exhausted. The spit from the county town has returned home. My dad said how nice it would be to die outside. My name is Ji Man. The year of the college entrance exam. I was the top scorer in the liberal arts category in our small county. Carrying the hopes of the entire village and student loans. Stepped through the gates of that prestigious university in the provincial capital. But the aura of the ivory tower didn't last long. The hardships of reality are like cold water. Time and again, it drenches my ideals completely. To make ends meet for next month's expenses, I was gnawing on dry bread in the library. In the context of monetary banking, staring blankly at those obscure concepts. Alipay balance on the phone. Remains below 3 digits throughout the year. watching my roommates constantly buy new cosmetics, going to fancy restaurants on weekends. The dam in my heart told the bottom line, starting to loosen quietly. It was on a rainy night. I'm driven to desperation by the text messages demanding tuition payments. A senior from the same department mysteriously handed me a business card. It pays off quickly. It's just about being able to let go. I somehow ended up dialing the number. From then on, I became 𝒯𝓶𝓅, the princess of the nightclubs. I'm learning to wear heavy makeup, wearing those dresses made of pitifully little fabric that were rented out, in the luxurious, glittering private room, at those greasy bosses. Forced smiles, drinking cup after cup of that scorching liquor that burned the throat. They call me 𝒯𝓄𝓉. Fill me with stacks of cash. My hands tremble when I count money. But deep down, there's a kind of twisted sense of reassurance. Now the tuition fees are covered. I'll be able to have a nice meal next month. I started to become addicted to this feeling of making money quickly, to take on more high-end matches. I borrowed money to get cosmetic surgery, bought a fake luxury bag. Pack yourself as a worldly-minded girl. I gradually distanced myself from those people. Students still studying hard in the library think they're too stubborn, clinging to that so-called dignity. It's been utterly boring, unsatisfying. I even lied to my family, saying that I working part-time in high-end jobs outside. Pretty good income. Let them be relieved. Father hesitated at the other end of the phone. In the end, she only told me to take care of myself. I first met President Chun in a VIP private room. That day, the foreman said a big client was coming. I want someone who's a bit more innocent looking. Just push me in. The moment the door is pushed open, I saw a man in his 40s sitting in the middle of the sofa, wearing a dark-colored shirt. The gold watch on the wrist glowed in the dim light. He isn't like the other guests, starting by being physically aggressive right from the beginning. Just glanced at me briefly, pointed to the seat next to him and said, "Sit down." He didn't say much that night. Most of the time, I spend talking about business with people around me. Occasionally have a drink of wine. I just sat quietly beside him, pour him a drink and hand him a tissue. When the show ends, he handed me a thick envelope. The little girl seems quite sensible. When I went back to the lounge, I counted 5,000 pieces. It's more than 3 times as much as what I usually spend in one night. Since then, every time President Chun comes, he always orders from me. He's very generous with his money. The tip was generous, and they never make things difficult for me. He'll chat with me for a bit, ask me how old I am, what school to attend, how's things at home. I said my family isn't well off. Come out and earn some money for tuition fees. He just sighed. It's not easy being a girl. He started bringing me gifts. Sometimes it's a high-end lipstick. Sometimes it's just a scarf. Sometimes it's simply an envelope containing cash. He said not to go to nightclubs anymore. Staying in those places for too long ruins people. He said he could support me financially. Give me 20,000 yuan every month. Rent me another apartment. Let me focus on my studies in peace. 20,000 yuan for accompanying people at nightclubs. Drink until you bleed in the stomach. You have to let someone touch every part of your body to earn that amount of money. And he said as long as I followed him, none of these are needed. I hesitated for 3 days. The third night, I got spit on by a drunk boss in a nightclub. He also called me out for pretending to be innocent. I'm hiding in the bathroom, looking at the makeup that's ruined in the mirror. Self-reeking of alcohol, suddenly started crying. That night, I sent a message to President Chun. I promise you. I moved out of the dormitory. I moved into the place that President Chun rented for me. 1-bedroom apartment with a balcony. Exquisitely decorated, fully equipped with household appliances. standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the bustling activity below in the building. For the first time, I felt the illusion that this city has taken root here. I deliberately skipped class for a long time, thinking to put my studies on hold for now. I'm solely focused on saving money under President Chen's guidance. When I'm financially better off, return to campus to complete my studies. President Chen comes here 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes at night, sometimes it's in the afternoon. He brings food with him when he comes, or just give me some money. He said he and his wife had no feelings for each other anymore. If it weren't for my son, left long ago. He said he would wait until his son finished the college entrance exams. Just confront my wife about it. Then buy us a house that truly belongs to us. Marry me in all your glory again. I believed it, or rather, I forced myself to believe it. I started showing off the jewelry and bags he gave me on my social media feed. Photos of us eating at fancy restaurants. Add some ambiguous text. I've set these contents to be visible only to my classmates. I just want those who used to look down on me to see this. How well am I, man, doing right now? I'm so proud of myself. So proud that I forgot about this shady relationship. It was doomed from the start to end badly. President Chen's wife actually knew about my existence for a long time. She's not the kind of woman who cries, makes a scene, or threatens to hang herself. She's very calm, also very smart. He hired a private detective. Photos of me and President Chen entering and leaving the apartment were taken. Checked all transaction records. They even copied President Chen's phone. I've seen all of our chat records. She's been waiting for someone who can make her happy. Ironclad evidence that President Chen left the marriage with nothing. That night, President Chen said he wanted to take me to meet some important friends of his. Let me get dressed up nicely. I wore it specifically because he just gave it to me. The white dress I bought. Wore elaborate makeup, thinking this was his way of officially making things official with me. Signals to introduce someone into his circle. But as soon as the car reached the entrance of the club, a few people gathered around. The woman at the head, wearing a well-fitted black suit. The makeup is exquisite. Yet her gaze was as cold as ice. It's President Chen's wife. It turns out this was all a trap set by her. She deliberately asked someone to deliver a message to President Chen. There's a major project that needs to be discussed. Lead him here. Then, along with a lawyer and photographer, they waited at the door, just waiting to catch them in the act. The flash camera clicked repeatedly. I stood there, shaking all over. It feels like all the lights are shining right on my face. It's really glaring. He barely glanced at me the entire time. Everyone's attention is on President Chen. Every sentence is about getting a divorce. Talking about property division. I'm just like a prop. An item he used to win his divorce lawsuit. He didn't even scold me once. That kind of contempt makes me feel worse than being cursed. The next day, my secret became public. Photos, chat records, and screenshots from moments. Everything was taken out. It spread throughout the school. It also reached my small hometown in the countryside. The school quickly issued me a suspension from school. When the counselor came to talk to me, the tone was filled with regret. I want to defend myself, only to find that there's no way to defend oneself. President Chen has completely disappeared. The phone won't connect. WeChat has been blocked. The apartment landlord also came to urge me to move out. It said that Mr. Chen has terminated his lease. Within a few days, I received a legal letter from his wife's lawyer, requesting me to return what belonged to President Chen during their marriage. All the money given to me, a total of 280,000. It's considered joint property of the husband and wife. The total amount of money in my card is less than 50,000. I don't dare stay in the provincial capital any longer. Bought the cheapest long-distance bus ticket. Fled back to my hometown. The car bumped along for over 10 hours. I'm leaning against the window, watching the scenery outside as it changes. Tall buildings turned into low, single-story houses. My heart is completely barren. It was already evening by the time I got off the bus. I walked down the familiar streets, dragging my suitcase behind me. Yet I feel like an outsider. Passing by the vegetable market, Aunt Zhang, who sells vegetables, avoids making eye contact. She used to constantly ask me questions about college. Uncle Wang from the meat stall saw me. Every motion of raising the knife and slashing came to a pause. I walked forward quickly with my head down. Yet, I still heard murmurs coming from behind me, piercing my heart like a needle. What makes me feel even more ashamed is, met my neighbor Uncle Lee. He passed by me, spat on the ground. The volume is neither too loud nor too soft. The little girl has gone astray while studying outside. How dare you come back at all? That spit is etched into my heart like a brand. I finally reached my doorstep. That peeling iron gate looks so unfamiliar. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. No lights were on inside the room. Father sat in the dim corner, smoking a cigarette. The red glow of the cigarette but flickered on and off. He saw me. Didn't say anything. It's just that I started coughing violently. That hoarse cough of Dad's really breaks my heart. I hadn't even started speaking when he interrupted me. How nice it would be to die outside. Why bring it back at all? His voice carried disappointment and anger. It's more of a kind of exhaustion that I can't understand. I didn't cry. I just dragged my suitcase into my room. Tiny rooms of just a few square meters each. There's also my high school desk in the room. There's a layer of dust on it. On the desk, there's also my college entrance exam admission ticket from those days. In the photo, my eyes are clear and bright. His face was filled with longing for the future. I'm sitting by the bed. Take out the phone. I wonder if any classmates are still willing to talk to me. But then I saw those friends from WeChat who used to be my contacts. Either block me, either they've granted me the necessary permissions. I opened Alipay. The balance is only 412.03 yuan. That's all I have left. Mild pain in the upper right abdomen. That's a health problem caused by long-term drinking. At night I lay in bed, listening to my father's intermittent coughing outside, looking at the peeling wallpaper on the ceiling, remembering the days when I ate bread in the university library. I remember my father's calloused hands when he sent me to school. I remember President Chen's gentle promises. Remembering his wife's cold gaze, I thought sacrificing my principles would lead to a shortcut. It can be exchanged for money and what's called support. In the end, I'm merely a pawn discarded in someone else's game. I thought I had met a kind and generous person. Actually, it's just that I've encountered another person who exploits me. I used my youth, dignity, and reputation. It brought temporary comfort and luxury. In the end, nothing was left at all. Just carrying around a reputation that can never be cleaned up. Returned to my hometown in a dejected mood. The old-fashioned ceiling fan above made a creaking noise. It's like they're mocking my embarrassment. I closed my eyes. In the darkness, there's only endless regret and silence. I know there are some roads. Once you take the wrong path, and then there's no turning back anymore. A moment of impulsive misconduct. I was blackmailed by my first love until I was penniless. Wife and children separated. Homeless. Never thought about it? For a moment of excitement. To make me pay such a heavy price. At this moment, the wooden door of the hotel's private room was pushed open. I saw the person sitting there at first glance. The woman in the corner? She was my first love in high school. I'm the first one in this world. Those who have given their hearts and souls to a relationship. But that was a long time ago. The me of today had already formed a new family long ago. In the 10 years of my marriage, I play the role of someone who's utterly worthless. A picky husband and father. I hold a respectable middle management position. My wife is virtuous and kind. The child just started elementary school. My life is like a machine with a pre-programmed routine. Although dull, but no deviations will ever occur. But the moment I saw his face, the rational parts of my brain, minor cracks began to appear in the defenses. At the dinner party, classmates kept raising their glasses, trying to wake those who've long been asleep with alcohol, youthful memories worn away by life. He took the glass of wine in his hand and walked over to me. Slightly reddened eyes tell of all the hardships over the years. Catalyzed by alcohol, my heart, long since numb, began to beat faster. It's as though I've returned to that age when I cared nothing at all. After the party ended, I didn't ask for a driver to take me home. Rather, I sat in it as if possessed by some supernatural force. The taxi he called. The air in the carriage was affected by alcohol, and past memories have become unbearably dull. None of us said a word. The car finally stopped at a certain place. The entrance of the budget hotel. The moment I stepped through the hotel entrance, the brain issued a brief warning. But soon I was completely overwhelmed by impulse. The sound of the door closing. It completely severed me from what's considered normal. The last bond between lives. I committed a 3-minute act of misconduct. Digging out one's own second half of life with one's own hands. A bottomless grave. The next morning, I was awakened by a harsh ringing of my phone. I opened my eyes, seeing him sitting by the window. Without any hesitation, he lit a slender cigarette. In the haze, he inhaled and exhaled smoke with practiced movements. This isn't the one I remember. The innocent girl seems like a completely different person now. He turned his head. Tell me in an indifferent tone. She just got divorced. Now, one person is taking care of a 3-year-old child. My heart skipped a beat. A foreboding began to spread through my blood. Immediately afterwards, a message appeared on her phone screen. A text message demanding payment of gambling debts. I caught it right in front of my eyes. She admitted without any hesitation that she often played mahjong. And they've also incurred a significant amount of foreign debt. I originally thought this was just a mere remembering the romantic encounters of youth. Now I find that I've become involved in this. It caused a huge amount of trouble. Hastily got dressed, trying to use a few perfunctory compliments. Let's put an end to this absurd farce. I went to the bathroom. Looking at myself in the mirror, looking disheveled, just felt nauseous. I thought that as long as I left this room, block his number, life can get back on track again. I pushed the door open, escaped from that hotel. It's as though some terrifying monster is chasing me from behind. When I got home, I acted like nothing had happened. Continuing to play the perfect husband in his wife's eyes, I threw away that piece that was stained with cheap material. Throw the perfume-scented coat into the washing machine, trying to erase all traces of the crime. But I had no idea that demons never give up easily. Let go of any prey that comes to you willingly. The peaceful days lasted for less than a week. That afternoon, my phone received a SMS with a photo attached. In the photo, he and I are walking in one after the other. Screenshot of the security camera at the entrance of that budget hotel. My brain buzzed loudly. It felt like all the blood in the body was instantly drained away. She made her first request in the message. Transfer 20,000 yuan to pay off gambling debts. Otherwise, the photo will be sent to my wife's phone. I hid in the company hallway. Her hands trembled as she dialed her number, trying to reason with her. But on the other end of the line, there was only a cold countdown. He got me exactly right. The weakness of fearing the loss of one's family, between reputation and money. In the end, I chose to compromise. I'm using the money that was supposed to go towards enrolling my child in extracurricular classes. Every penny was transferred into his account without any shortfall. The moment the transfer is completed, I thought that spending money would ward off bad luck. Yet they didn't realize that this was merely the beginning of a brutal ordeal. Just half a month has passed. She used the excuse that her child was sick again. Demanded 50,000 outright. I yelled angrily on the phone. Call her dishonest for breaking her promises. She simply smiled lightly. Then I sent a photo of our company's building. The threat is self-evident. Fear completely overwhelmed me. I overspent on my credit card without telling my wife. Once again, his greed was satisfied. The gambler's appetite. You can never feed them enough. Third month. She's no longer satisfied with online extortion. They went straight to my company. I'm holding a meeting with my subordinates in the conference room. The front desk called. There's a lady waiting for me in the lobby. Through the glass door, I saw her wearing revealing clothes. Sitting on the sofa in the lobby, looking around. I was so scared that I immediately ended the meeting. Pull him in like a thief. Are there any fire exits without surveillance? He was leaning against the wall, demanding it from me every month with complete justification. Send him a fixed amount of money for living expenses. As long as I dared to refuse, he would immediately rush into the office area. Let all my colleagues know who I am. A hypocrite with a pretentious appearance. In the workplace, this lifestyle problem is a fatal flaw. I gritted my teeth and agreed to his request. That ridiculous figure that was mentioned. To fill this huge funding gap, I started embezzling money from my work, manipulating the accounts. I live in constant fear every day, afraid that one day everything will be exposed. Lose everything I have now. My mental state is getting worse and worse. Returning home and facing my wife's concerned questions, I can only shrug off the issue by saying I have too much work pressure. I started suffering from insomnia night after night. Lots of hair falls out while washing my hair. I tried to exchange compromise for peace, only to realize that I was merely using flesh and blood, raising a beast that can never be satisfied. Especially when I no longer have anything at all. When extra money can be exploited. I refused his request to buy it. After making unreasonable demands regarding a mobility vehicle, he pressed the nuclear button of destruction. It was a weekend afternoon. I'm helping the child build with blocks in the living room. There was a knock at the door. The wife walked over and opened the security door. I turned my head. I saw that woman who resembled a ghost, standing right at my home's entrance. My mind is completely blank. The building blocks in my hands instantly fell onto the wooden floor. He looked at my wife with a provocative gaze. Then he slowly took out his phone. He kept those disgusting chat records and records of going to hotels together. Each of the expense bills was shown to my wife one by one. He even exaggerated the description even further. Details of my time with my first love. I rushed over trying to snatch the phone, but was given a loud slap across the face by his wife. That crisp sound thoroughly shattered the dignity that had existed in this home for 10 years. The wife didn't make a fuss or cause any commotion. The way he looked at me, it's like looking at a pile of stinking garbage. He calmly walked into the bedroom. Take out the suitcase. Start packing my own things and my child's things. I knelt on the ground, pleading desperately. Swear that I was just confused for a moment. Please give me one more chance. But my wife simply walked past me coldly, holding the child's hand. Left this home without looking back. The very next day, a divorce agreement was sent to my company. The wife not only took custody of the child, but they also demand that I leave the marriage with nothing. As the party at fault in the marriage, I don't even have the right to argue in court. I signed my name on the agreement. The house I've worked hard to build over 10 years, and all the deposits were handed over. I was carrying a pitifully small suitcase. From that place filled with warm memories, They were completely driven out of the house. And that first love that ruined everything for me. But at this very moment they came over. He spoke with false sincerity. Since I have nothing left at all, then I'll move there and live with him from then on. With no other choice, I could only take what little I had left. The luggage took up space in his dilapidated rental apartment. When I pushed open that rickety wooden door, a pungent smell of tobacco and alcohol hit my nose. The room was covered in scattered items everywhere. Mahjong tiles and empty beer bottles. There's also a thick layer of dust on the ground. A 3-year-old little boy, naked, sitting on the ground, crying and wailing. No one gives a damn at all. I'd put down my luggage. Looking at this environment that's like a garbage dump, feeling a deep sense of despair. I finally understand. The purity that one voluntarily gave up with one's own hands. How precious is a tidy home. But once the arrow is shot, there's no turning back. I have no choice but to go through with it anyway. Take root in this quagmire. The real torment has just begun. Life after living together is completely different. A hellish ordeal. He spends his days lying in bed playing mahjong on his phone. It's just going out to drink with a bunch of worthless friends. All the household chores at home. Even his 3-year-old child. Leave it all to me alone. During the day, I have to watch the boss's mood at work. When I get home at night, I still have to take care of him and his child. When I get home at night, I still have to clean up the mess everywhere. As long as I complain once, he immediately turned hostile. Pointing at my nose and scolding me like that. A worthless loser who gets kicked out by his wife. Saying that only he would be willing to take me in. His self-esteem is trampled underfoot and rubbed against the ground repeatedly every day. What's even more infuriating is his view on money. As soon as he received his monthly salary, he would transfer it away. Throw them all on the table. There's often not even enough money to buy groceries at home. I have no choice but to borrow from my colleagues shamelessly. Once I noticed that he didn't even remember my last name. Even that little money for emergencies was stolen to gamble with. I was furious and confronted him. He acts all righteous and justified. Your money is my money. We engaged in fierce physical confrontations. I stared at his grotesque face. I think he's completely unreasonable and insane. The moonlight of my dreams, as I once believed it to be. It's actually just a pool of stinky, rotten mud. He not only ruined my marriage, still slowly sucking the life out of me, the last bit of flesh and blood left on my body. On a cold winter night, he got completely drunk again, was brought back by someone else. I watched him, lying on the ground, vomiting non-stop. Not a trace of pity in my heart, only endless disgust. I walked onto the balcony, lit a stick that I had used before, cheap cigarettes that I never even touch. The streets in the distance are brightly lit. Through the night, I saw myself. The building where I used to live. In that window that once belonged to me. With warm yellow lighting on. I remembered the hot soup my ex-wife made for me. I remember the smile on my child's face as he rushed into my arms and called me Dad. Those everyday moments that I once considered dull and uninteresting. Now it's become a luxury beyond my reach. I took out my phone. Looking through the photos of the family of 3 from the past in the album, tears finally couldn't be held back anymore and streamed down. Smashed against the cold phone screen. I did this for a phantom that exists only in memory. For a moment of excitement. Ruined one's own life. My career is stuck in a stalemate. My family is broken apart. My life has completely turned into a joke. No one will feel sympathy for a cheating scumbag. I can only do this here. Continuing to rot in the dark, pitch-black mire. There's no undo button in life. Every choice comes with an unseen price in advance. I thought I was reminiscing about my youth. Actually, I was the one who personally pushed open the gates of hell. This is the bitter pill I must swallow for betraying my marriage.